Town and Dragons Brave Duo. Once upon a time, in the shadow of high mountains, there was a town surrounded by lush valleys. The people of the town lived in peace, intertwined with nature. However, this peace ended with the emergence of giant dragons living on the top of the mountain. Dragons would land in town every month, taking the people's food, their animals, and leaving only destruction behind. The people, in fear, silently accepted this persecution. However, this situation was about to change with the courage of two young people, Laura and Andrew. Laura was the town's most talented archer. With the hunting skills he learned from his mother, he could hunt the fastest animals with a single arrow. But what could a person do against dragons? Ali was the apprentice of the blacksmith. He would beat the town's strongest swords, but he hadn't used any of them. Andrew, unlike Laura, was always trying to suppress his fears. "If we don't fight against them, we will submit to this persecution throughout our lives," Laura replied hesitantly. "But dragons are gigantic and the fire is erupting. How can we stand against them?" Laura was determined. "We have to make a plan. It is better to die by fighting than to live with this fear." Andrew was impressed by Laura's courage. "Okay," he said. "If we work together, maybe we'll have a chance." Laura and Andrew decided to visit Professor Hansel, the town's old sage. Hassan was the only one who knew where dragons came from and how they could be eaten. Professor Hansel opened an old book after listening to the young people. "Dragons depend on gold and precious stones. If you can take them away from these treasures, their power will weaken," he said. Laura said, "But how are we going to get to their treasure cave?" he asked. Hansel said, "There is a secret passage to the top of the mountain. However, there is a guard guarding the passage. You can't go in before you pass it." Andrew decided to build a shield and a powerful sword. Laura, on the other hand, sharpened her arrows to pierce the dragon's scales. The two set out after a week of preparation. As Laura and Andrew advanced along the steep slopes of the mountain, they encountered a group of wild wolves. Thanks to Laura's quick reflexes, they fended off the wolves. But the road was becoming more and more dangerous. One night, Andrew's sword stopped a giant eagle attacking them. This adventure helped Andrew overcome his fears. "Sometimes we have to push ourselves to overcome fear," Laura encouraged Andrew, saying. When they reached the top, they met the guard guarding the passage. The guard was like a creature made of a stone the size of a human being. "If you want to go, you have to prove your courage," said the guard. Laura and Andrew managed to cross the passage by solving the riddle asked by the guard. At the end of the passage, the dragon's cave full of gold greeted them. The cave was illuminated by the sparkle of gold and jewels. However, Laura and Andrew did not fall under the magic of gold. Their plan was simple: distracting dragons and driving away the treasure. Laura noticed dragons sleeping deep in the cave. 3 giant dragons were resting in the center of the cave, on the gold. Laura woke up one of the dragons by firing one of her arrows. The dragon took off furiously through the cave. At that time, Ali began to get out of the cave, filling the gold in a wheelbarrow. When the dragons noticed that the gold was missing, they turned all their attention to Andrew. As Andrew tried to pull the dragons to the mountain slope, Laura was attacking the dragons using her arrows from afar. But the scales of dragons blocked most of the arrows. Laura thought she should have a weaker point. He noticed that the dragons' undernecks were vulnerable. He threw one last arrow towards the biggest dragon. The arrow reached its exact target and the dragon fell to the ground. Meanwhile, Andrew led the other 2 dragons to a cliff full of gold. Dragons began to fight each other to save the gold. Dragons, who lost control on the edge of the cliff, fell down with the gold. Laura and Andrew returned to town, tired but full of victory. The people welcomed their courage with great enthusiasm. Now the town had survived the persecution of dragons. "If we work together, we can overcome even the biggest challenges," Laura said. Andrew, on the other hand, supported him by saying, "Defeating our fears allows us to find real power." The public continued to tell the names of Laura and Andrew in their heroic stories for years. They not only saved the town, but showed everyone how strong courage and solidarity were.